Socialism is often spoken of but little understood, mainly because of the imprecision with which the topic is discussed. As far as most North Americans seem to be concerned, socialism is a synonym for the welfare state or heavy regulation of markets. Neither of these basic themes is inherent to socialism, let alone unique to nominally socialist economies. State interference in markets and state benefits of one form or another are common features of many styles of government. Systems as divergent as absolute monarchies through to progressive liberal democracies have had these features. In fact, I am unaware of any government in human history which does not involve itself in marketplace affairs, and said governments have also generally involved themselves in various forms of institutionalized charity when expedient. Another common definition of socialism you'll hear is that of state ownership of the means of production. Indeed, there are those who fancy themselves socialists who advocate for this. It certainly has been the model for many of the so-called radical socialist revolutionary regimes which appeared throughout the 20th century. But really, can state ownership of the means of production, or at least state control over the most vital resources and industries, such as is in the case of post-reform China, can any of these really be called essentially socialist? Again, history shows us many examples of state monopolization of large parts of economies by many different styles of government, and if you consider the implications of medieval serfdom, the state, as every commoner's de facto employer, is really nothing new. So, things like state welfare, heavy regulation, government ownership of large parts of the economy, or any number of other things that could be mentioned, do not seem to illustrate anything that is actually distinctive or uniquely socialist. So it begs the question, what is socialism? Well, the most succinct definition that I can find is worker control over the means of production. A socialist economy, then, is one in which the motto, each according to his ability, each according to his work, is in full effect. It is not an implicit denial of private property, but a democratic renegotiation of the old employer-employee dynamics, which go unquestioned in so-called capitalist economies. Far from being an aberration or contradiction in terms, I propose that free market socialism is the most consistent and effective demonstration of authentically socialist economic principles. It is also the only formal theory of socialism which in practice respects the democratic origins of socialist economics as a whole. What this all means is that participation in economic enterprise would not be fundamentally arranged along employer-employee lines, or owners versus workers, but workplaces would instead be corporate bodies in which a worker's participation would amount to acquiring a stake in said body. This overcomes the historical downside of old models of workers' emancipation, like labor unions, for instance, as the workers are now full participants in risk and reward. As for the issue of initial capital investment to start new enterprises, there is no reason why this cannot arise out of a loan process not entirely unlike that which we now have for businesses. The only provision being that such loans exist to be paid back by said workers' corporations with interest, and do not constitute controlling stake in said company. That would only be possible through initiation into said corporation and doing actual work of some kind on its behalf. Obviously, more could be said on this topic, and I plan on doing exactly this in future videos. I simply wanted to offer the above, as it will be a reoccurring theme on this channel, and represents the specific socialist platform that I am a supporter of. As always, your comments and video responses are appreciated.